Okay, so good evening, welcome to the February Parish Council meeting. Tonight we've got the usual reports from the Clerk, our Ward Councillor, and on the Pavilion, as our clubhouse is now called. There's just one planning application tonight, which is for a rear breakfast room extension at 22 North Street, better known as Holmstead House. The resolutions that we've got tonight are to produce a leaflet to commemorate the 120th anniversary of the Great Fire of Castlethorpe, which was on the 4th of August 1905. Russell, I assume as you live in a thatched house, you're not planning any other form of enactment. We also will be discussing a response to the Boundaries Commission. They've got a proposal for new ward boundaries, and that actually affects us quite a lot. To consider inspection of our footpaths, as the couple had previously done it, Keith and Antea Tipping have now moved out of the village, and just like to thank them for their work, basically in putting new signs up and reporting any faults on the footpaths. Next resolution is to consider sponsoring the clerk for formal qualification, which is a step to giving the council a little bit more flexibility on expenditure. Gives us a power of general competence. General power of competence, that way, right? To consider servicing the ride-on mower at the sports ground. To consider a display board with the new graphic of Castle Field at the entrance on North Street. And to respond to a possible opportunity for Milton Keynes Council to share an electric minibus with other parishes. As well as approving the usual payment schedule, there is a part 2 from which the public are excluded, to consider quotes for a new landscaping contractor with some groundwork at the sports ground, including repairing the footpath in a couple of places where it's become a trip hazard, and to buy some new notice boards outside the village hall. And just a reminder, in case you don't get to the end, the next meeting is at 7:30 on Monday the 3rd of March. So we now start the open forum, and James Higgins from the Hanslope and Castlethorpe, or shall I say Castlethorpe and Hanslope, Beavers and Cubs, has come to speak to us. If you'd like to come a bit closer to the microphone, James, and hopefully we'll be able to, everyone will be able to hear you.
Fantastic. So my name is James Dickens. I'm the lead volunteer for Holmstead Castlethorpe Scout Association. I'm afraid you can join first. How's that? It's exciting times for us at Scout Association at the moment. We're going through a lot of change. We, as a Scout group, died out about 2 years ago, just after COVID, and it's took us a good while to get back. We started with 18 young beavers. We started a subgroup last year, and I've got the pleasure to announce that we are starting the Scouts again. Scouts until 16-year-old children. And we wanted to do something a little different for the villages, something that was a bit out of the ordinary. So we decided that we'd kind of become extra scouts, should we say, and pick an avenue that possibly thought was quite strange. Because scouting is great, it gives kids the opportunity to do stuff. We wanted to get them to do something maybe a little bit more. We wanted to do kind of put us on the map.
James, can I ask you to speak up just a little bit, because make sure that people feel that.
Yeah, so we really wanted to put people on the map. Say, okay, this is Hanslope Castlethorpe. We wanted to do something different. So effectively, immediately, we are no longer Hanslope and Castlethorpe Scout Group. We are Hanslope and Castlethorpe Sea Scout Group.
Ah.
Now, that does sound rather strange, bearing in mind we are one of the furthest areas from the city. However, we've got a very good conversation going with Buckingham Canal Trust. They've been very good to us. We are literally 100 yards from the canal. We're starting off very simple. We're going to start off in April, and it's really quite exciting. We have no gear. We've been offered certain things. We've been offered bits and pieces. We're looking for people to join us, leaders and children. So if you're an adult with a boating qualification, or you're a keen person who goes paddleboarding at the weekend and just wants to get a bit more involved, that's the kind of person we're looking for. We've got leaders. We're going to put some adverts out for children. It's really quite exciting. To put it into context, we will be the only Sea Scout group in Milton Keynes, which is quite an opportunity, but quite daunting to do. We have a gentleman who works for the Scouts down in Docklands, who's got a load of boating experience. We've got some great leaders, including the man sitting next to me. Foolish man. So any of you like got a few hours on your time and you're not doing this, by all means, come on and see what we do. So that's the announcement. The other thing is I'm very conscious of the fact, as you said, we are Holmstead and Castlethorpe, which will stay. It was one of the things that I said we needed to keep very grounded on, because it has always been Holmstead and Castlethorpe, the two together. So that will be the name, Holmstead and Castlethorpe Sea Scouts. Again, I know my club leader has spoken to yourself on several occasions about getting involved in the village. We really would like to get involved with the village. What events you have, perhaps something clearing the churchyard, hedgerows, footpaths. I think it's pretty much up for anything. With the Scouts, that will give us a little more scope with older children to do things. And it's quite weird, because when we started, a lot of our kids were from Holmstead. Now I think most of the young leavers coming through are from Castlethorpe, so it's kind of tipping its scales slightly. But yeah, whatever we can do for you, whatever you think, oh, we could do with a hand, whether it's marshalling or whatever, we're quite willing to help out, because we want to be part of the community.
So what, can I ask, what age are you looking for, like, for, obviously for the children?
So for children, it's 14 and a half upwards,
14.
to 16 and a half, but we take for 14 to 16. Sea Scouting is different to scouting in the means that it's a bit more regimental. It's a bit more structured. We tend to do a lot more activities around boating. So to begin with, it's not going to be amazing, I will say that, because we don't have the resources. However, we do have the ability to utilise what we got, which is the canal, Buckingham Canal Society. We'll be doing a boat up with them last year, so we do have facilities to boats, bell boats, hikes, swimming.
And would it be a weekly meeting? Or?
Yes, there'll be a weekly meeting.
Okay.
We will be based at Holmstead during the winter months. However, during the summer months, we will be in this area, Cosgrove, Holmstead, Castlethorpe, out and about all the time. And yeah, really, really exciting.
Sorry, did you say you had cubs that are definitely younger than Scouts?
So we have currently got beavers which are 6 to 8. Remember that, 6 to 8 year olds, which is, to be honest with you, typically 4. We have 24 at the moment, which is a rather large amount of children running around, I think.
Yeah, try teaching.
Oh, it's yeah, it's amazing. We had an absolutely fantastic night the other night making cake and cup, which was absolutely fabulous.
Am I right in thinking that the Sea Scouts have a connection with the Royal Navy?
So our aspiration, and that is an aspiration, is to get RN recognised. We're a long way off that.
Yeah.
We want to do it right. We want to, you might have seen a Facebook page out lately. I think I just tentatively put on Holmstead regarding getting support from someone who maybe an ex-service person, someone who's been in the army. I'm not too sure your guys' background. So if you're interested, just to come along and give that a little bit extra, because it's something we do aspire to, and I think we can achieve. It's not something we can do in the short term, but in the long term, over the next year or so, we can get there. And that does open up a lot of different things. So if you're RM recognised, you will get to go to Portsmouth, you'll get to go and do a lot more boating stuff. So yeah, it opens doors. It's well worth doing, but it's not an easy fix to begin with.
And how do they contact you if people want to know more?
So they can contact myself through email at james.dickens, which is Dickens, at mkscouts.org. And what I'll do is I'll put that on the Facebook page as well. So you'll start seeing some stuff coming through for the Castlethorpe pages and the Hounslow pages in the next week or so.
You should then put up the village page as well.
Yes, that's, I think I'm a member of about 6 Facebook pages now.
And when's the
Maybe
next
the
thing?
magazine. The magazines
February,
haven't gone to print
it might be February, March, I'm not quite sure when.
February, March.
Yeah, they're not-
10th of February.
One thing that, it's very topical, you're saying, you're looking to doing things around the village. You may have heard in my introduction saying that there's footpaths, and walking footpaths, and noticing where those little round doors, say.
Yeah, my co-leader David was on about that, supporting you and getting whatever you needed doing. I think that's definitely a cover or a scout age thing.
Yeah.
We could possibly get the beavers involved. Yeah,
It's just a nice walk in the countryside and doing a little bit of, finding anything that's wrong with the footpaths and reporting it where it is. And I've got a little pack of nails and a little pack of round balls.
I think we just about cubs have hammers.
Yeah.
Beavers are, but definitely we definitely like to get involved.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of things planned height wise for next term, so there's no reason why we shouldn't adjust it.
Yeah, when the weather's better,
to support yourselves.
it's
Yeah.
nice to get out and have a bit of a
But
stretch.
yeah, I mean, I know you do the duck race at certain times and things like that, so definitely like to get involved with that.
Okay, that's fantastic.
But yeah, it's as you say, Castlethorpe does come second on that, Hanslope and Castlethorpe, but it's someone's got to. But it's like I said, you're the first parish council I've gone to, so you come first. First to visit a parish
Very
council.
good, yeah.
And I said you've got this man here, sit next to me.
Yeah.
Do you look for funding opportunities?
We would look for funding, yes, of course.
Please, through looking for voluntary, they've got a pot of money that they look for voluntary organisations, so I can pass you the details.
Yes, please, we are definitely looking for funding. As a scout group, I don't like to own anything because you have to own insurance,
Right.
etc.
Okay.
However, with Sea Scouts, it's a little different. You actually need boats and equipment and things like that. So we've been offered a few things, but buoyancy aids are always good. That's something that you need to change on a regular basis. So yeah, it's there's always something that we could do with. We have lots of tents, we have a lot of that equipment, we have basic scout stuff, but we're going to be looking at to the extent can use paddleboards. Nice.
Okay, so this will get live streamed. It will be in the notes as well. And if you talk to Russell nicely, he can put things up on the website and on Facebook from us, but you can put it directly yourself. I'm sure.
Oh, that's fantastic. We've got a nice logo. Most Sea Scout groups have a name, and like I said, we decided to stick with the Hanslope Castlethorpe because it's been that.
Yeah.
But we have chosen a name for it's SSS, or we'll just like stipulate 3 S's, Scout Ship. And we've chosen Dreadnought.
Okay.
So you will see a lot of stuff of that about hopefully coming soon. And yes, very exciting.
Good name. And do you see the catchment area, given that you're the only one in Milton Keynes, as you say, being more than Hanslope?
scouting is open to all, but it is Antelope and Castlethorpe, so we will always side on people from the village.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it is a village scout group. But yes, we'll take any young person, we'll take adults from any area. We're not picky. There's absolutely no requirement of anything. You can, as long as you are, you can get through a clear DBS as an adult, and you have the want to learn, and you've got something to give. It literally doesn't matter who you are or what you do, because you'll have some kind of life experience, or you'll have something that you might want to do. We've got a gentleman who joined us as a beaver leader about 3 weeks ago. Absolutely loving it. It's very hard to describe. It's almost like having 24 of your own kids, but they all do as you say most of the time. You go up and down. Most of the time, they do as you say, and it's an hour of your life where you'll forget everything that you're doing in your daily job. If you have the worst day of your life and you have to concentrate on that hour, you'll forget everything else, and it's so rewarding. I mean, I just can't say in words. I've had a daughter who's gone through the whole lot. Started as a beaver. She's currently doing her gold DV. She's just finishing that off. She spent a month in Norway last year on expedition with Roverway. She's doing a camp in summer, Kerno, which is an international camp in Cornwall. And when she goes to university, she's going to become a leader. And the great thing about it is, when she goes to university, it gives her another outlet, a different direction to try, more friends, different things. It's great. I would say to anyone who wants a challenge and something different, and an hour out of their life where they can do something very rewarding, thoroughly enjoyable, give us a shout.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, James.
Any of
and
you
we'll,
who have
we'll-
any military experience who want to shout at a bunch of kids, I always volunteer.
Okay. I think we probably ought to move on. Thank you very much for coming and speaking.
Thank you.
That's very interesting and fantastic, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Quick one for the bit, just to plead on the youth club. Okay,
Please do say,
absolutely. So the youth club is actually in danger of closing because they cannot get volunteers. Most of the volunteers there don't actually have children at youth club. Some of them, like my husband, never has had children at the youth club, but they go. It's down to once a fortnight at the moment because they just cannot staff it. There's a letter gone round to everybody in the village, and it would be really appreciated if you could give up some time, and it has to be reliably. It can't be that, oh, I'll do that Tuesday, oh no, I've got to swap it. It does need to be a reliable, once every now and again. It's not once a fortnight, it might be once a month. If anybody out there can help with youth club, it would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, I did see the letter.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kay. Tony, was there anything you wanted to raise in open forum? No. Okay, in that case, we'll now move into the meeting itself. Apologies from Ian Markham by way of illness. Declarations of interest in addition to those declared for community space and shop association. Any others? No. Minutes of the last meeting as a true and accurate record. Does anyone have any any matters correction or omission? No. No, in that case, can I have a proposal, which is Russell, and a second, which is Darren, and all in favour? Yeah. It wasn't, not you. Not bad. Shall I sign on? 20 minutes electronic age, we still have to sign the minutes. I'm sure if it's a bit more modern, or up to date. I can sign it electronically on the PDF. Right, moving on then. Clerk's report and review of actions. Let's just bring that up. So I have to say, Jack, you cleared an awful lot of these.
Information.
Yeah.
Once you've been informed.
Yeah. So on the are there any questions on that first section, which is numbers 1 to 12?
Just one,
Yeah.
for me, I should know what they're called, the SIDS. I know that the one on Hanslope Road is being dealt with, was being dealt with.
Yeah.
The one, the Havisham one, are they aware that there's an issue with that?
They're going to look at it when they.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think they think it needs downloading the datas.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
we'll try and get to it, but yeah, it's
Drains battery, and that sends all these funny colours.
down to me, in other words. Right.
Come on, man, what are you doing?
What am I doing? I've one job, don't I? One job, download the SID. Have I done it?
On item 3, the parking bays, are they working okay?
I think so, yeah, it's a lot better. There are still some people who find it impossible to park between two lines. Leave like 2 meters at the front and then go over the one at the back. But on the whole, I think that it's been successful and people are being really good.
Yeah.
So thank you, people of Castlethorpe, much appreciated.
Okay. Right, if you move on then to the next section, which is 13 to 17. Really just the ones with actions. I think the yeah. Any update, Darren or Steve, on any of those?
Getting no traction, unfortunately, with work.
Yeah.
It's going into the ether, but I'll persevere.
Yeah. Oh, on 17, just a matter of interest is I had a phone call this morning from someone who's interested in buying the Carrington. And he was really asking what the parish council's attitude would be if it was to be converted or change of use from a pub to a family home, basically. So obviously I can't speak. I said the parish council will respond, to the consultation, but speaking personally, I can't think of anyone who would object if the building is put right. I think we'd all like the building.
They won't get change of use though.
Hmm?
They won't get change of use. It's a listed building. They will not.
They'll
Far
get
as-
change of use.
They might not get.
Well, to change it from a pub into a residential.
Yeah, as long as they don't alter the outside. Well, I don't know. I mean, that's up to planning and so on, but
I don't
and conservation. But
Yes.
If it's meant to work out.
Building falling down.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's the point.
I mean, it's going nowhere, is it?
No.
It's just crumbling.
yeah, that's
And
right.
if it doesn't get change of use, then it's just going to continue.
Then it'll fall down and suddenly
There's
I'll have
nobody's
to rebuild it.
No one's going to object to it.
Anyway, just thought that was it seemed quite serious, but there we go.
Well,
And items still outstanding on the highways. I noticed the Bullington End build out has at long last been fixed, even though we had to have a road closure to do it,
Yeah, and the massive pothole as well.
and the pothole as
They
well.
just-
The pothole bit fixed.
Yeah, they left a cone there. Somebody actually had to go out their own car and
Yeah.
the cone, but yeah. So
I was going to ask you with that cone, we could do with some.
no, that's right. It was very random because
If it's-
I didn't even see
You
it.
left those ones behind, did they, after they finish?
No, those cones very kindly came from the guys who were doing the work on the fibre to the premises.
Yeah.
And I saw loads of them on the back of their van. And I said, oh, when are you going to be finished here? And they said, oh, we're finishing today. And, oh, never mind now. I said, and then they said, this lovely guy said, what do you need? And I said, well, I could do about 8 cones. But obviously you're going, so I wouldn't be able to return them. He said, oh, don't worry about that. And so he picked up 8 cones and actually carried them round all the way around to my house for me.
Okay.
So they're there. But
Do you want them to be there or do you want them?
Ollie's going to have them down because he could use them, but they would be available to the parish council if needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that up at the sports ground, particularly with the football, marshalling and so on, it's handy to have any spare cones up there. So if there are any, Darren, that are really going up there, yeah, if we could get them up.
Good heavy duty coats. Brilliant. Yeah. We carry it.
What size cones do you want?
Just traffic cones.
No, what size cones do you want?
Oh,
There's
are they-
3 sizes.
Are they
Oh,
not?
there's 3 sizes.
Yeah.
Well, I know that.
Bigger than a nice green cone.
Yeah.
That's the second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one you got
I
from
think the answer to that, Tony, is what we got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not fussy, as long as it's
Yeah.
fluorescent.
Oh, we're always picking.
I mean, it's up there, it's more or less just a matter of helping the marshals make sure that vehicles don't drive onto the outfield when they're parking along, you know, adjacent to Thrupp Close.
There's 3 of those dumped in Cosgrove.
Yeah.
I'll pick them up for you.
Okay, well, that'd be great.
Line C scouts.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on. We'll spend all our time.
25, is any updates on that? Because I think that's quite dangerous, to be honest, because
Yeah.
people actually come hurtling towards that and no idea whether they've got priority or not.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I
Yeah.
think the other, I mean, you're right, and I see Jack has just started. I mean, I would also say that some of those the older give way signs, particularly the one as you leave the village on Station Road, have become almost illegible through age. Yeah, and I think if you could just add to that, could they possibly replace those with a normal sign? And I've got something I want to raise anyway under the clubhouse sign. Anything else on this? No, let's move on then. Ward Councillors report, Liam.
Liam, it might help if you actually sat near a bit nearer.
Well, if you come and sit next to Darren, that would be great.
Quick. Yeah, I was going to mention the ward boundary review, but you're already on it. Obviously, it is going to affect this ward quite a lot, as the draft proposals are, with us potentially joining here with New Bradwell and a few of the more urban areas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the file folder, but you can see our draft response, which was done in conjunction with Havisham.
Yeah.
Well, I did the first bit, then Richard's put on others.
Yeah.
And then you'll also see there, but not for publication because they haven't approved it yet, the draft document that's been put to New Bradwell Parish Council this evening, because they also feel there's, you know, it's not right mixing urban and rural parishes.
Yeah,
I mean, so anyway, that's for your information, but please don't disseminate.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I was going to mention street light, not the street lights, the temporary traffic lights, which I'm sure you're aware of the update on that, and the fact they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that we've you may or may not be aware of the government's plans to introduce elected mayors to most places across the country. So they basically wrote to every local authority telling them that they're going to be these new combined mayoral authorities. So it'd be like Andy Burnham. And every council had to try and join up with other councils to create almost a super council of 1.5 million people. Milton Keynes Council has joined with sort of the Luton and Beds councils and has not put in a bid with Northants, which I think will affect us here, obviously, because we're on the border. Yeah.
I mean, make more sense.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's no.
The common boundary would be.
So their argument is that it's part of the BLMK health board area. But we have to wait and see what the government, because the government cannot rule them. And the BLMK, the plan that they put forward only has about 900,000 people, which was well short of what the government told them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Northants gets added in, but for the moment.
Or West Northants at least.
Yeah. The Milton Keynes has signed tracks of the Northants councils for the moment, who aren't very happy. But that's just something to keep an eye out. There might be an announcement in the next few weeks or so.
So is West Northants Billy Nomads?
West and North at the moment, yeah, they wanted to join in with with Milton Keynes and beds, but
That's sad.
Is that
I'd have left out when you picked
That's
it.
political.
I can comment.
Oh, yeah, all right, yes.
But yes,
Not go there.
but they're the main updates for this month.
No, I didn't know that, because I did know that a few years ago, when the Conservative government then invited a number of regions around the country to decide whether they wanted mayors, and I remember it came to Milton Keynes, and Milton Keynes voted not to have a mayor, but to continue with the cabinet roles that currently exist. But anyway.
Yeah, I think they were basically, I think the government basically said, you either jump on board and come up with something here, or we'll force it upon you, so.
Yeah, well, that's democratic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Right, then I'll talk about the clubhouse when it loads. There's definitely something not quite right with the Wi-Fi tonight, isn't there? So I haven't got my own report coming.
Do you want to come and sit around here as well, Phil? I've got it.
You've got it up?
Yeah.
I don't think it's the Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi is quite slow, it's 12.
Oh,
Should be 60 or
let me just very quickly pull it up here, and then I'll go off my phone. Pardon me, everyone. Right, so Lawrence Chapman, who's chair of the Community Space Community Interest Company, and I both announced just shortly after the January meeting that we Claire hadn't signed at that point, that Claire Michelle, who runs the Lodge Farm Cafe, has signed a tenancy agreement with CCS to run what will be called the Pavilion. And we just need to remember the way the structure goes. So the parish council built it and basically owns the land there, but then leases the land to the community interest company, which will have a general oversight there. And then that community interest company subleases to Clare. And it's exactly the same as the village shop, where the parish council owns the shop, leases to the shop association, community interest company, which subleases to D&D. So that's the way it is. Most of the equipment of the kitchen equipment is now there. We're just waiting for the extractor hood to go in, which will go in after some electrical work scheduled for this Saturday, so it should be there next week. And that the good news is that that's actually within the funding that we had allocated. At our last meeting, I was really anxious because we've received some quite widely varying quotes for these hoods, and we were worried it was going to blow our budget. And if you remember, I asked the council to make available up to £5,000 if we needed it, which I saw some, sucking your teeth on that. But though we would have had to pay for that anyway if we hadn't got the National Lottery grants. I mean, it's not entirely unexpected. But because which is actually to say Lawrence, who's played a blinder on all of this, of course, managed to get a supplier within our 5,000 allowance that we had, we won't need to draw on the additional allowance that the parish council had made. And in fact, there's very little now. There's just a few odds and ends that parish council will need to do, is which it will fund substantially from the 8,200 S106 that is in our account anyway, and that was for village amenities, so it can't be used for anything else. So we've got that. So financially, I think we're now pretty much straightened up. The customer furniture was delayed, and that did cause the opening to have to be put back, but it was received on Friday. Some of us, Russell and me, and Steve came to look at the end.
It's DIY, but it looked good.
Assembled it, and we were so pleased. You know, we've got loads of photos, as you can see, and I put a couple into the
Brilliant.
report. And it looks like, it just looks
It looks
fantastic.
fantastic.
It really does, yeah. So Claire has said that she's going to open on the 1st of March, which is a Saturday. I'm not quite sure. We need to have a meeting with her to understand whether that's still what she called a soft opening, in other words, a limited menu and things, or whether that's a full opening, but we'll let you know once we've sorted that out with her. It's, you know, I keep using this analogy. It's you know, I wrote it in a note earlier today. It's like a child, really. You know, you sort of, you have the child, and then you sort of go with it all while it grows up, and then it leaves home, and the clubhouse has left home now, and it's with Claire. And my wife said, well, just remember, sometimes children come back. But I think Claire will do well, and it won't have to come back. And then there'll be an official opening, and our new local MP, Chris Curtis, will be coming along on the 22nd of March. We haven't got all the timing sorted out, but that's when the opening will be. And as has been mentioned previously, all residents will be entitled to apply for membership. We'll open that up later this month. And members get a 15% discount on prices. Should be competitive anyway. So that should be, and that's basically to reflect the fact that the village has bought this, you know, built this thing, you know, fitted it out. I did put a note in here. It's worth noting that in addition to the grants from the Community Foundation and National Lottery, etc., the donations now total. So in addition to that, the donations now total just about £10,000, and most of that has come from residents. And so it really is a big thank you, because the difference that this money has made is between having something that you know, would be just making do with you know, I think some people thought it was going to be rather like an offspin of the village hall, into something that really is just fantastic and looks really nice. And that's what the donations have done. So thank you very, very much to everyone who's donated. So Claire's very busy recruiting staff, contracting with suppliers, and you know, all the admin. You know, the holes were cut for the beer pipes to come through from the cellar into the bar on Sunday. So that's all and it is very exciting. It's the final month now. Hopefully by the next time we have a council meeting, the clubhouse will be open. But I can still remember 8 years ago when Steve and I sat down with the S106 officer and negotiated the funding that was the basic bit of this. And
It's amazing what you could build a clubhouse for then.
And you know,
a lot more now.
yeah, and you know, that's an 8 years we've been doing this, and certainly the last 3 have been very, very intense, and it's just fantastic. So that's the clubhouse report, and we now have to let go of it.
And it's now live on Facebook, and there are pictures just going up on the village website as we speak.
Very good. Right, that's clubhouse. And are there any questions on that?
Yes, two.
Mm.
So so is all the license in place for the 1st of March, or will it just be soft drinks and or bring your?
Well, Claire has applied for, I mean, she's got, there are 2 licenses you have to sell alcohol. There's a personal license, which Claire has already got, and a premises license, which she's applied for. And I believe, well, she seems to feel that that's a relatively straightforward process. Obviously, she can't sell alcohol until she's got the license, but yeah, she's hopefully that will be done for them. Yeah.
Are there any meetings? Sorry, Jim, I was just going to ask the same time. Are there any meetings scheduled, licensing meetings?
I will check. Last time I checked, And Liam, you're on
I am.
licensing subcommittee. Are there any scheduled in February?
Yeah, but there's one next. I think it is. But I don't, I've got my papers today, they came through today, but I can't remember what's on it.
Yeah, because last time I looked, I think you only meet when there's an application. Is that right?
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, 'cause there were a couple in January, then there were nothing scheduled beyond that. So
Yeah,
obviously if one's coming now. Anyway, that's the answer. It's got to go to licensing subcommittee. And I've said I'll go along and support her if necessary, because
And second question, so a villager who I happen to work with has asked a question regarding private functions. And I know that we discussed this previously, but I just wanted to maybe put that on record. I know that obviously his wife's 50 this year, he was hoping to maybe use the space, but again, he was just with.
you won't be able to hire it as a whole privately. Lawrence uses the term a buyout. That's what this is for, the mutual. Obviously, if you've got a small group of you wanting to go in, a table of 12 or something, then you'll be able to reserve seats, because obviously that's what Claire will have to do. But not the whole thing. I should say, I meant to add actually when I was giving my report that with the announcement that we made, we have had some concerns expressed by the neighbours in Thrupp Close. We have had a meeting with them. There are a number of actions. And the actions fall into, because as I explained at the beginning, there's like 3 tiers of responsibility: parish council, community interest company, Claire. A lot of it is to do with Claire, how she's going to run it and make sure there's no nuisance caused. Fair enough. At the other extreme, there are some things, particularly to do with traffic. They're concerned about, cars coming up and down Thrupp Close.
And parking.
Sorry?
And parking.
And parking, yeah. And the parking, CCS has taken responsibility for, putting notices up that say, parking has got to be within the car park area. We can't actually stop people parking on the public highway because it's public highway. But we can encourage people to park within the car park itself. And there should be plenty of parking spaces. I mean, let's remember it's only got a capacity of 40 people, so 20 cars, and most people will walk, I hope, anyway. Well, not Dave, not yet anyway.
Walking around the sports ground.
But traffic, and on one particular point, I will just raise this, rather than leaving it to other business. But the junction where you come up into Thrupp Close off Bullington End Road, and then you turn right to go on the sports ground. People coming round from that side to go towards Bullington End Road sometimes come a little quickly, not realising that traffic that's coming up from Bullington End Road is usually on the wrong side of the road because of parked vehicles. Right? Most of the residents park on the left-hand side as you go in, yeah? So most vehicles going up, including people like me, will be going on the right-hand side of the road, slowly, but on the right-hand side of the road. People coming round typically look to their right, which is where the traffic would normally be on that side of the road, and then sort of come out. And there have been some near misses. I'm not sure we need a formal resolution. Would any councillor object if Jackie made a gentle inquiry as to whether Milton Keynes Council will would mark the road with a give way marking and perhaps a give way sign? I mean, I think that just might encourage people to realise they don't have right of way and they just got to stop there. I mean,
At the end of Thrupp.
on that junction.
Yeah.
On that junction.
It's fine. Well, I know exactly where it is.
Yes,
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, the get actually give way markings would, and the sign would make sense.
Yeah, I think that would just help, and might avoid, a little bump in the future. Is that okay? Shall we put that on the list?
Do you want me to
I mean-
hold on my action, so I can talk with a couple of residents about a mirror?
Well, you
Right,
can
then.
talk about mirror. The problem, I mean, they've asked for a mirror to go there. The problem is that there's one post, which is where the sports restaurant and everything is. I don't think it's a very good place for a mirror.
It's not a good place.
And if you put it on the other side of the road, A, I think the householders wouldn't be very pleased because it would be right in front of their house. And B, it will actually spoil the street scene. I mean, really, be right in your face. I mean, we can talk about, but I think no one should have a problem with the road being marked. That doesn't intrude on anyone. Yeah. Okay.
Bank on that. Somebody will complain.
Right. Okay. I think I've covered everything. Anything else on that? Right. Let's move on then. Planning applications. 22 North Street, single story rear extension. Does anyone have any objections that they would like the parish council to raise?
Not a rear extension.
No objection then. Reporting back on the previous planning applications, does anyone want to raise any questions? We have got a refusal on 6.2, which is 45 Thrupp Close. But it's really just that he's got to submit the full planning application rather than being regarded as a non-material amendment. And we've got our cycle parking, which is refused, but we'll come on to that in a minute.
Can still open with refused condition.
Sorry?
Can still open with a refused.
Yeah, we have put in cycle things there, and we may.
I don't know.
Right.
It's the process, you have got, just in general, if you've got refused, do they come and check?
I'd rather not discuss this in open council. Right.
Could say no more.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you say, there is a buyback there, should anybody wish to use it.
Presumably you've not heard back from Pam. Yeah. I mean, yes, Russell has submitted a drawing Russell produced a drawing of what we propose, which we believe is in line with the parking standards manual. And we just said, please tell us, this is all right before we put another cycle rack in and you tell us it's not right.
We don't designate the gym as a cycle rack.
Yeah.
This is all about the length of the chain.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Right. Okay, that's it, I think. Can we move on to section 7 resolutions? Need to have a part 2 to discuss these quotes. That's Darren proposing, Russell seconding, and we're all in favour. Yeah. So 7.2, a leaflet on the 120th anniversary of the Great Fire. Russell.
Yeah, 4th of August 2025 is the anniversary. 13 houses totally demolished and 36 people made homeless. It was the most devastating day in the history of Castlethorpe. And in the research for the pictures to go at the pavilion, we found lots of pictures of the Great Fire, and I thought it would be rather nice to do a special commemorative leaflet, which we could distribute in conjunction with the June issue of the Castlethorpe News. Either that or do an online version.
Yeah. How much would it cost?
The cost, well, it depends how many pages. It'll be the same cost as the Castlethorpe News.
I mean, the good thing is you're in black and white because all the photos.
Yeah. There's not much difference in colour and black and white. You could do it as a downloadable booklet from the website.
I mean, I think that would be nice. I'm not quite sure how much interest there is in history. I mean, I'm interested. I think a lot of us are interested, but generally,
every time a historical photo goes up on the Facebook group, there's lots of comments. So,
yeah.
So I think,
Well, it might be nice.
I think a lot of people will be interested.
Yeah, well, Shall we, I was just going to suggest, no, you go.
All I was going to say is that some of the older people might not want to download, so they might need a hard copy.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be available at a
Yeah.
small.
Well, you could put an extract in the June Castlethorpe News and say, you know, if anyone would like a hard copy, you know, phone somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's not.
I mean, just a general point. I mean, Russell, Lawrence and I agonised over choosing historical photos to go into the pavilion. And there's a really nice selection of about 20 historical photos, which we're trying to pick up. I think virtually every street in Castlethorpe that existed at the beginning of the 20th century. And also the significant buildings, you know, like the Carrington School and church and so on. So it's a nice selection there. So
Actually,
when you're musing over your drink, you know,
I saw David Spinelli today, and he said he's got quite a lot of photos of the sports ground and around. Good, but I said your timing's impeccable, but I'd like to
He's got his own pavilion, isn't he?
well, I tell you,
He's got his own pavilion.
yeah. But I said just drop them into Russell. So.
kind of,
Have a look at.
no, I mean, I would say that we've had a very generous villager who has paid now, in fact today paid, for all the frames and the photographs that have been chosen. I'm not sure want to say the name. I'd have to talk to Lawrence about that, but it's basically in memory of her deceased husband.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying rewind everything.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, for any future opportunity, it might be it.
So shall we leave this then as a downloadable?
Yeah.
With as Kay suggests, the opportunity for people who like hard copy to get one. We could even put the hard copies in the shop, couldn't we? It's just printing huge numbers and then.
Yeah, I get that totally, because lots of people just go, oh, that's nice. So,
Yeah. Right. Now the next one is quite a substantial one, which is the response to the Local Government Boundary Commission for England. We did have one meeting with the head of Democratic Services, Pete Brown, who was just giving us a bit of gentle guidance on what was possible and what wasn't possible. And we were Havisham, Richard Pryor from Havisham, Alan Francis from New Bradwell, and me. For some reason, I don't quite know, Liam, what's happening. Hanslope haven't really participated at all. I honestly don't understand. First of all, I copied in Dorothy, the chair, and then I was told by Richard that Andrew Geary was going to be leading for them, and I copied Andrew in, and again had no response. So I don't know whether they are not interested, but the draft that you'll see here is, you know, what I think Havisham are going to go with in a couple of weeks' time when they meet, and which we'll do, because I think the closing date is actually towards the end of this month. Yeah. So basically the problem is that the rural part of Milton Keynes doesn't have quite enough population for 2 full-size wards. So before we were in Newport Pagnell North, as you know, which wasn't too bad. But now a huge chunk of the east of that ward has been moved into an only ward. And we have been left short of our electorate, and they put us in with New Bradwell, Bradville, and Oak Ridge Park, thank you. Which is really not very satisfactory. And one of the things that came up when we had our meeting, and Pete was there advising us, but it was largely a meeting between us, is we just said, well, what are your issues, Alan, in an urban, and what are our issues here in a rural? And you can see them listed in there, and you can see they're just quite different things. So if we're asking ward councillors to talk about something, they've got to either cover a huge range, or rather than just focusing on what matters for us. What is worse is that 60% of the population or the electorate in this proposed ward will be from the urban side. So we will actually really struggle to have our voice heard at all. And I think that's very, very bad. So I've written a draft here because I hate the way Word deals with markup. So you can see the bits that it's added in a different colour, and you'll need to make a PDF of it or something when it goes on. But does anyone have any comments on this? I mean, I've put it fairly strongly worded. There are some alternatives.
New Bradwell also are against this proposal as well, and they've got a very strong response to it, sort of mirroring ours.
Can I ask what were the proportions when we were with Newport Pagnell North?
What, in terms of rural and urban versus urban? I have to look at Mr.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I would think it would be a lot lower, partly because we had a lot of other parishes included in the ward, going over to Sherrington, not Sherrington, Stoke Oldington, Gatehurst, all that slab there, were with us. And the other thing is Newport Pagnell North. Oh, and I keep forgetting the name of the little villages you come out from. Sorry?
Gatehurst?
No, beginning with an Lathering. Yeah, as you go out that way, it is quite a rural bit of Newport Pagnell, if you see what I mean. So it wasn't too bad. But so A, there was more rural included, and B, the bit of urban that was included was a little bit more rurally in flavour.
Where's Stony in all this?
Well, if you go right down to the bottom,
Oh yeah.
well, this is actually a proposal. Where it was, I don't. You'd have to look at the. I can never get this right because I always think that I'm going into Pink Punters or something. It's the LGBC.
It does sound like
if you go off their website and make sure you type it right, you will see what their proposal is. Sorry, should I not said that? Okay, you're looking at me as if I've been politically incorrect. I think you're right. Anyway, here you go with what I'm proposing, and I'm proposing that we send this in as our parish's response.
The table there, draft response, that table is your.
We found this table.
Okay.
Now it has got some shortcomings in it. The biggest one is that it proposes to split Wolverton in two, which may not be acceptable, but there are two urbans and they're still with urbans. And there are still some urbany bits in with us as well, but hey, it's the best you can do. This was driven, by the way, because I think there was a consensus that Newport Pagnell ought to be a single ward and it shouldn't be split into two, which of course is what we're proposing to do with Wolverton. So
I think bearing in mind you had to come up with a proposal,
yeah,
which is pretty much spot on for
Yeah.
yeah. I have to say I can't take credit for this. It's someone else did it.
I'm missing Stony Stratford. It's here. Oh, there it is. Right. Yeah, got it. Stony Stratford and Wolverton. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So you've got Wolverton East and right.
Yeah. So basically, I'm saying you could do that, or you could try for an asymmetrical arrangement whereby we don't have 3 ward councillors, you know, in each ward, and we're smaller, so we'd have 1 or 2 ward councillors, and another ward which is bigger, by including New Bradwell, would have the extra ward councillor.
Perfect sense to me,
Yeah,
because, yeah, I mean,
or
like problems together.
or there is the, you know, reverting to the single councillor, where it used to work really quite well. Anyway, there you go. If anyone's got any other ideas, I mean, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And the problem is, you have to get these wards within 10% of each other in terms of size. You can't have a variance.
No. Absolutely fine.
Okay,
Makes more sense than that.
Yeah.
all right. In that case, if
I will second it.
okay, all right. Thank you. So when you do this, if you could make the point that this is unanimous vote by the parish council. Thank you. Right, 7.4, I've kind of already covered this. This is the footpath inspections. You know, Keith and Antea have left now. They did do a review. They very kindly left all the maps of the footpaths and all the little footpath roundels with me. So I'd like to offload those. But it is really something for someone who, you know, walks a lot. So I'm really looking, you know, at the residents, the whole, if someone's interested in doing that, this is just walking the footpaths, noting any faults, reporting them back either to Milton Keynes Council, there is a footpaths officer there, or if necessary to us. I mean, we prefer you did it directly, and where any roundels have been damaged, just putting a new one in. Any comments?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, okay, well, so someone will come forward on that, please. Right, next one I've got is to consider the clerk signing up for Ilka Silka qualification. I mean, apart from being a professional career development for Jackie, it does also allow us to become what is called a quality council. And the point about being quality council is it does allow us to have a general power of competence, which means instead of being expenditure being bound by about 50 powers that we have got, with just a small bit for anything else, it means we can really spend money on anything which is for the general well-being of the community. It doesn't happen very often. It did happen a few years ago when we had to try and get some legal fees together for and when we were fighting the rural expansion coming up here. We were clubbing together with other parishes, and we actually had to go to Oni eventually, who had got a general power of competence, and all the parishes paid their money to Oni, and then Oni employed the solicitor.
Professional developments. Great.
Sorry?
Professional development.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do anyone think that Jack is not worth the £810
I think she's worth it twice, at least.
I don't, I spoke
What do you think?
to.
Do you want
I think it's going to be very hard, isn't it, Steve? You started it once.
Well, they were, my attempts were cursed.
Yeah, you were.
They all ended with,
Badly,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it's quite intense.
yeah, it is.
But the Ilka part, which is the first part on that page, I spoke to Balk and they don't think I need to do that.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I've been involved for long enough, so.
Yeah, you have to ask what is the value of it, what is the value to you personally, and what is the value to the council? I don't think there is any value to the council, is there, for having an Ilka qualified.
Well, the
Ilka
But
just-
Silky, yes.
Silky, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Not.
I thought you were meant to go in holiday homes.
Okay, well, look, I propose that, can I have a second to that?
Okay, happy.
Absolutely. That's great. Right.
Sold anything out here.
Quality, you get paid. You get through it.
Hey.
Oh, no, I'll make sure.
Right, 7.6, the ride on mower. Now, Ian, sorry, I'm getting you mixed up with Ian. Ian rang me and said that he wasn't very happy with the quotes that we got. He felt that all that was needed this year was some oil and filter changes because so much work was done last year. And he could suggest a couple of others to go to for the work. So I said I'd ask you to speak to him. Does anyone have anything to add to that? I mean, I think we normally look to Ian as the person who knows about this.
We do. I will say that there are a couple of, well, there is one in particular, very expensive contractor that we've used before that in my time as clerk made successive bad jobs.
Well, that's probably who I contacted.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I told Ian the price and stuff.
Well, I mean, I think it needs servicing. The time's coming up anyway. I noticed I had a response from Stuart saying that cricket is starting in nets fairly soon. They probably will want to start cutting the grass. So would it be, who's on the sports ground committee? Yeah. So am I? I can't.
Yeah, you are.
Could we say that as it is, there's a certain degree of urgency that if Jackie talks to Ian,
when I spoke to him, he thought that it needed doing at the end of the season. He didn't. Did he say to you it needed doing before the start?
I mean, Ian's probably best.
Yeah,
but no, I was just saying, and then once you've got this in, if you ask for 2 councillors to support you, and then we can get the word. Yeah, I think 2 councillors on the sports ground committee is logical, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, it's very good. To consider displaying a historic information board in North Street entrance to Castle Field.
They're all printed.
They're all printed, yeah. I mean, this can't be this is to consider it because we don't have a price for the board yet. But Russell's done this beautiful board. The run-on cost of producing an extra couple was nothing really. So, and I do think that the entrance from North Street is where an information board about Castlefield is most useful, rather than when you get right up, you know, to the plinth on the far side of it.
But how are you going to mount it?
On a display board with a couple of
so it'll be on a board.
Away from the pooling. Because of the dog poop in there, wasn't there?
There is.
There is, yeah.
I can move it.
It's printed on Diabond, which is a weatherproof, durable material, and it's laser printed onto it, so it won't fade.
Yeah.
And
He's saying
it doesn't actually need a backing it.
I don't think that
Maybe it's
it needs to be away from them because nobody wants to
It means-
stand
yeah.
right next to a poo and reading.
It's not that it's fading, it's smelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which is fair enough.
Doesn't need like a putting onto an MDF. It just literally
Yeah,
got 2 posts on
it's screw straight to a post.
Okay, that's easier.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
holes in the full.
I mean, if we could make it look nice though, I mean, rather than, I don't want to just look, I mean, this is a traditional, I mean, it's like we've got that beautiful notice board over the way. Now, I'm not suggesting it's quite like that, but I mean, that it's attractive. Yeah, framed in some way. I think it's
Thinking about it, that's not an obvious place for it to go. I wouldn't have thought.
It can go, it needs to go on the fence line. It had better not come forward because all of the village's internet cables are running on that here. And it can't go back because that's the scheduled entrance. So it needs to go on the fence line, doesn't it?
Attached to the fence.
No, on the fence. It needs 2 new posts with a nice frame, you know, so it looks traditional, whatever.
Do we have to get highways?
No, because it's we own Castlefield and they own the bit before, and we're going right on the boundary.
But we might miss.
Well, we must be very careful because, as I say, that's where all the cables
It's a
are.
rock and a hard place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gosh, don't want to do the internet people. Want to
No,
know, so
you
do
get to
what
install
was
that.
that? Electricity.
Or disturb an old town fossil.
The whole lot, didn't they?
Well, it could almost go. You could almost put 2 of the posts or 1 of the posts. attached to one of the fence posts.
That's what
Choose
I
the
think,
obvious
that's what I
fence
think.
post, you put another one in next to it, and it'll secure the fence for a bit longer.
I think that's best. Attach it to the actual fence.
Okay, so I think this is really just for us to consider it and then come back with some kind of nice frame that will, you know, when we want that best kept village award in a year or so again. Okay. Oh, we're all happy with that. It's not a financial resolution. Okay. To consider the possibility of an electric minibus.
Yeah.
Russell.
One of my extracurricular activities is being the representative on Milton Keynes Integrated Transport Stakeholders Group, along with various other bodies in Milton Keynes and the bus and railway and network rail as well. In a meeting last week, which is mainly to do with the new government transport plan and Milton Keynes' response to it. Such as mass rapid transport, which will be going ahead roughly to get into service about 2030, because it's a major project. But also there is a possibility that they're exploring of local parish and town councils having an electric minibus service for the residents for services that are not covered by the existing bus routes. For instance, shopping trips or late night trips into Milton Keynes and things like that. Adele Waring, who is Milton Keynes, the person at Milton Keynes who's responsible for this buses and things, says at the moment we're just getting a feel for interest, so this is helpful for us to be interested. We will need to be clear that application for some, all of the costs of the vehicle and provide a charge rate locally and some support around on charge for how and under the section 19 community transport licenses that they would do that, but we would have to supply volunteer drivers. I think there probably is not enough demand in Castlethorpe for this by ourselves. So I think possibly we could liaise with neighbouring parish councils and see if they would be interested in joining us for an application for this.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of agree.
Yeah,
the
driver would have to have the appropriate license, which I don't think is a PSV license. Something less.
I mean, surely that is a service that's currently provided by MK Connect, isn't it?
Yes, but it's not a very good service.
I mean, this isn't Milton Keynes Adele Waring just trying to save money again, is it?
No. This is in addition to the DRT as a Connect spot and demand responsive transport.
Well,
I mean, I don't see how it's going to work. I had a look at
Sounds
it,
like it's
and,
gonna be a lot organised.
there's just no control over it. Really, it's just say, right, okay, have a bus. Somebody is going to have to coordinate it. Somebody's going to have to manage it. I guess the maintenance of the bus and things like that, the organisation of the drivers, and there's a lot of control required behind this.
Yeah, it's not quite on the same scale as a Reeve or a stagecoach. So.
No, but it will take quite a lot of management, and I just don't know who would do that.
yeah.
I think it's worth exploring anyway. You can't
Well, I mean,
say that.
to me,
No.
To me, it's just going to be another waste of money.
No, I think you're right. You should express interest in it, because at some point, someone's going to make a decision whether it's viable.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that will depend on how many people. And I think it's going to be more than how many people are interested.
Yeah,
But we've got nothing to lose by saying we're interested.
definitely worth investing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's
So
it's just as a counter tax driver, I think. It's,
Yeah, I mean,
I'll drive it.
They need to know how much the annual,
double D crutch.
how much the annual costs are going to be.
Automatic.
Well, I would be willing to drive it, but you have to be under 70.
yeah, it's over 70, it's going to be.
Well, I'll be over 70 by then.
I used to have a minibus license.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, are we broadly saying that we'll express an interest, perhaps liaise with Hounslow and see if and Havisham, see if they've got any interest in it? I mean, I have to say, Steve's just touched on a really important point, which is how you book a trip.
Yeah.
And you know, you really do need some kind of app or something that will do that, like the DRT app.
You'd want to be like.
It wouldn't be like that. It would be a regular scheduled
Timetable.
service,
Timetable service.
not an on-demand one.
Okay.
So you'd have, like our buses every 2 hours, so you'd have a sort of a, you know, shopping trip to Tesco's for people that
Yeah.
can go.
So in that, it's surely going to have to be MK Council responsibility to run it.
But I think from reading that, they was.
No, they're going to provide the equipment, but we have to run it.
So like you say, if the
Yeah, that's
bus is
the
off the
whole-
road, you're gonna have to make arrangements with the bus.
Would they pay for things like insurance? Because insurance would be fairly hefty, I would have thought, if you're carting a load of people around in it.
I don't know.
Well, we'd have to see.
This is-
Yeah, that's what I mean, those sort of things just need investigating. don't
I mean, I can imagine Arriva aren't going to be best pleased, but if we start skimming off their measly fares, but anyway.
they? Don't charge
We-
me.
When they bother to.
Yeah, well, look, are we okay for Rutland to basically liaise with the other parishes and just see whether there's any
But it does
interest?
sound
Okay,
like the first step to getting rid of the bus.
It's supposed to be a building, obviously.
okay. Right, can we move on then to the RFO schedule? And I'm looking at that now, and it looks,
The electrician is on there, but I won't pay him until he's done the switch tomorrow, but I just.
okay, yeah, indeed, yeah. Do you want to, with this CK duct, this is the extractor hood. As I previously said, it's coming out of the ring fence funds that we received from Milton Keynes Council from the S106. There's a second pay, this is the 50%, I think, so there's the other 50% we pay, which will be payable. Yeah, which will probably be next week, so should we
Oh, I see, I should put it on, yeah.
put it on there, yeah.
Oh, I can just do a no round to get approval. If I could do
Yeah.
this.
Okay,
And I'll
so if we can just be
next-
aware, Jackie will circulate a note asking for approval.
Well, you can put it on this schedule and get it pre-approved.
Well, on this one, yeah, we do this.
Because we're not,
Do you want me to-
committing the expenditure, we're approving the expenditure on that sheet. So just put it on there. And that'll approve it in advance.
Do you want me to try and, I can do that if you want. Yeah, well, I'm just. If I copy it and then put this on, and we can say we've approved it,
But I'll give back to that one.
that one will not be paid. Okay. Okay, that's balanced. Okay, can everyone see what I've just done there?
Right.
Yeah, well, I've just duplicated the previous one.
Yeah, but I didn't have any of that on that one. I only paid just part of it, and then I was going to pay the whole that.
Oh, right, okay. Well, we'll have to put the back on later. So that is, how much?
862.
862. I
Yeah,
think it's all. Okay. We've got the deposit extra balance. Okay, so if you look, I've amended it, you should be able to see it if you're looking at it online now. Are we all okay with this as the amended payment schedule? Yeah.
so don't sign this.
No, don't sign that one, and you can we'll pick it up. Okay, so we need a formal resolution, so I'll propose, I need a second, please. Darren's hand up first, and all in favour, yeah, thank you. Right, right, moving on to correspondence. We have 2 donation requests, Citizens Advice and MK Art for Health. Any comments?
Well, we have said in the past, it's our policy only to support local
Yes,
initiatives.
yeah, I think that would be the case. I mean, we could ask.
That they are like, because our residents.
I'm sure we've had Citizens Advice this before.
Yeah, no, we haven't, so I don't think so.
Do we not?
Yeah, no,
But we have said in the past that we will only support local initiatives. Specific local initiatives.
You definitely have requests from citizens advice before.
I'm sure we have.
Yeah.
Anyway, is anyone minded to support donations of this, or we just note it? Yeah, I'd note it. Okay. 9.3 is to sign the Armed Forces Covenant, if not already done. I mean, this has come up before, and I thought we might sign it. I mean, I don't mind us signing it, but it's a moot point, because in reality, it's to do with the sort of services that Milton Keynes Council provides on things like housing and employment and so on. And as we don't do any of that, you know, I don't really see it's relevant. Did you find out whether we'd signed it before?
I don't find anything.
Yeah, I would, personally, I would leave it. We've either done it or we haven't. Anyone feel strongly on this? This isn't the lack of support for the armed services, it's just that we do that would be relevant to it.
I think they do quite well.
I'm sorry,
I think
Kate.
it's more local things.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is just assigning it, it's no more than that.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about Oliver. Sorry,
You're talking about,
I was talking about Sydney Advice.
oh, right, okay. Okay, well, no one seems to be moved on that particular one. 9.4 is there is a request from Milton Keynes Council to complete their community governance review. This is basically asking whether we want any changes to the parish council, like number of councillors, changes to the ward boundary. I filled it in as a parish councillor, not on behalf of the parish council, and my response is shown under 9.4 if you look in your papers. But I mean, it is a fairly trivial response. You open that.
Yeah.
Okay. It just says, you know, should we amend the boundary? Should we change the number of councillors? Should we change our name? Any other changes you want? No. So.
So shall I fill it in on behalf of the parish council?
Tick that box.
Yeah. Okay, it's fine. Any other business for noting or inclusion? There are a couple of items which I asked you to remind me, which I've forgotten. The mirror.
Crime stats.
Crime stats, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed this month that there were 2 burglaries. I didn't know about those until I saw the crime stats.
I attempted one at our house as well.
Really?
Yeah, they took the padlock off the back shed, because we're next door to the ones who burglared yesterday. And they took the padlock off the shed and decided there was a load of rubbish in it, so it wouldn't bother. But didn't realise that until a bit later, and they actually cracked the lock and everything. So, and they've all definitely been in the other shed. But there's nothing in that either. But the people next door to us definitely had bikes stolen.
Yeah.
I saw there was a theft of bike as well, yes.
So these are burglaries to outbuildings,
Yeah.
not houses. as
Yeah.
such.
So I think the message to any, you know, any residents who are watching is to be careful. It's a number of years now since we've had any burglaries.
Mm.
And it's very unfortunate that if we're having them again now, they do tend to, well, what happened before, I have no knowledge of, you know, that it tells me what I'm saying has got no authority, but what happened last time was it was people who were targeting this village. They burgled a number of properties and then they moved on to another one. And then they burgled that and then moved on again. So it's a matter of being vigilant, looking after your property in the short term.
Somebody said that the police are aware of this gang, but they can't nail it to them. And I'd be very aware if I was this gang that if Ollie catches them, they won't have any legs.
Did they say they were local?
No, it's quite organised.
Right.
Yeah.
So it might just be like some state.
I'm really surprised actually in this day of, video doorbells and so on, that they could come somewhere on like such as your property and not get picked up on.
We don't have one.
You don't.
I used to have CCTV in the back.
Aren't bothered. Itinerant caravan dwellers aren't bothered.
Yeah,
They're scum,
Anyway.
basically.
did want to raise that. Was there anything else?
So
that
the
people-
one with that lithium battery that.
Oh, that's okay. It's in the pack, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is we received last minute, we received a request. So I'm just trying to find, you'll see it in your pack.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got the wrong. A request to ask our MP to support this bill that's going through at the moment. On this, is a lot of it is to do with their concern is the safety of lithium-ion batteries, particularly in electric bikes. Now, this does chime a little bit because, as you probably know, Milton Keynes is just about to refresh its electric bike policy with Lime, and I don't know what the name of the other one is. So, we may well be getting to a point where there's a lot more of these bikes around, and the purpose of this was, just to try and be careful because some, they can catch fire.
You think they might build it in, they can't just dump them in the middle of pavements.
Well, yes, I mean, that's to do with electric.
I think the problem is not with companies like Lime, it's with cheap
Yes,
electric
yeah.
bikes,
Yeah,
cheap lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah. But I mean, not to dwell too much on this, this is a government bill, so our MP is likely to support it. They've asked for support. It's not controversial. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if it didn't get cross-party support, this one. They've asked for support. I suggest that Jackie just write something and says, yeah, we support it, and just says, don't bother replying, because this, we've just done it. It's going to go through. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Bill, well, James texted me, he got the ages wrong for the scouts. It actually starts at 10.5, not at 14.5. So
Okay, still to 16.
no, he was talking more about Explorer Scouts. So it's
Right.
10.5 to 14.5 for Scouts, the Sea Scouts, and then you're on to Explorers after that.
Okay.
Next bracket.
So
So
the Sea Scouts are 10.5.
yes, yeah,
All right. Okay.
because Cubs finishes at 8 or 10.5.
Okay.
So,
Right. Well, thank you for that. Anything else anyone wants to raise? No. Next parish council meeting is 3rd of March. There's also the MALC annual general meeting, which is on the 26th of February at Woughton Community Hub. Michael Brace is turning up, so any of you want to come along and ask Michael any questions, I'll be going physically to that meeting. Happy to give anyone a lift if they would.
Is it online as well, or is it?
It is, yes. But I can tell you, Woughton Community Centre, they're remote. I don't think it's ever worked properly when I've been there. It's ever such a sophisticated thing. I think they really just ought to use little Zoom screens like us, but because they've got this big screen with a video camera and all the rest of it. And usually what happens is the sound goes on it, and you can't, either the people on the end can't hear you or you can't hear them. So, but anyway, I'm going if anyone would like a funny evening at Wolverton.
I'll have a look at the agenda.
If anybody does have
You,
any
you,
questions.
you put the agenda around, okay?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think it's come out
I don't
yet,
think
but when it will.
I'll have a look at the agenda.
First, before you decide. But if you have any questions, they did want them in advance, so,
Yeah.
for Michael specifically.
All right, in that case, we'll close the part one of the meeting and move on to look at these quotes. So thank you to any of you who've persevered to this point, and we'll see you in a month.
Don't forget, youth club need you.
Yeah, youth club and Sea Scouts and Scouts and Cubs and Beavers.
There's not much here.
Barry.
Did that one say night?
I didn't.